Rolex Sydney Hobart is one of the world's greatest yacht races. But to Australians, it's more than just a yacht race. It's ranked right up there with New Year's Eve and Australia Day.
It's a tricky race, and as Mike said, any one of the four boats have an Ichiban, you know.
Nobody will take the pedal off until it's over.
You know, I've got the fire in the belly.
Don't rip up your tickets.
It's all going to be played for. It's going to be very, very interesting.
Anything could happen.
It's the Sydney Hobart race. Everyone's got to do it.
In this programme, we have exclusive interviews, race footage and onboard action, including handicap winner Rosebud. But first up, Matt Allen, Commodore of the CYCA.
Well, we've got a great fleet. A lot of the media attention is going to be focused on the three 30-metre maxis. Fascinating duel between them going down the coast. I think I will pick Leopard for line honours, but not with a high degree of confidence. And I'd probably, given the weather, I'll pick Schutzbar as the my tip to win the overall. There is a lot of fascinating battles within this year's Rolex Sydney Hobart Yacht Race. You know, there is the maxis at the front. There's about 10 Sydney 38s. There's a fascinating duel within all the 50-footers and the TP 52s. And also there is the battle between Ichiban and Rosebud, the TP 65 versus the Volvo 70. The club is just a buzz this time of the year. It's just a great thing to be part of.
This is the George Adams Tattersalls Cup. It's the cup that the overall winner on handicap takes, well, doesn't quite take away, it does stay here at the CYC. It's quite priceless. It was brought into the race in 1946. Of course, the first race was in 1945 when 9 boats decided to go for a trip down to Hobart. Bit of a friendly race, so it was really line honours only. And the next year, 1946, George Adams donated the Tattersalls Trophy for the best handicap performance in the fleet. You've got to come to the Rolex Sydney Hobart. If there's one thing you ever do, and if there's only one time you come to Australia, come for the Rolex Sydney Hobart. Stand up on Sydney Heads and watch that fleet as they charge out of the heads. The colour on the harbour is a once-in-a-lifetime viewing, and it's part of the tradition of Australia and Christmas and summer.
The Leopard 3 crew has an all-star cast. We spoke to Irishman turned Australian Gordon Maguire and his fellow crewman and world-renowned boat builder Jason Carrington.
Well, we're a week out from the race now, and we had the full crew have arrived from the UK. All the boys are here. Mike likes to keep the crew together. Mike Slade, the owner of City Index Leopard. It eliminates mistakes and errors, and mistakes and errors on a boat of this size are very, very expensive. Way more expensive than the airline tickets.
She's basically 100 foot long. She's about 8 metres wide and around 45 tons, and consequently we're hoping for a bit more breeze. When the breeze is up, the boat's powerful and we should be in good shape, but certainly under 14 knots I think we're going to struggle against Oates there in front of us.
There's 20 boats plus with a chance to win this one. Yendies, the new boat that we've seen from the US, Rosebud, they're a very professional crew.
It can go either way. It's all down to the wind and who's in the wind and who's not.
For my money, I put some money on Rosebud. It'll be exciting. It certainly will be exciting. Keep us all on edge.
It's tantalising, but at the same time agonising. So there's a bit of agony in my stomach at the moment.
Character building, it's character building.
Yeah, that's why you guys do it every year.
Ricker has a problem in the doing because all the girls of Hobart are waving at him all the time.
I know one thing for sure, if we both get there, we'll both be covering each other nicely in the Constitution dock at the bar, that's for sure.
One of the international boats in this year's Rolex Sydney to Hobart Yacht Race is Yacht from Mexico. We're talking to Marcos Rodriguez from Mexico City. Marcos, welcome to Australia, and how are you finding it so far? I know you've been here since November.
Well, thank you. We are very proud to be here. We are very happy to be here. We have heard so much about this race that we would like to have something to try. And said we have done the Sydney Hobart. It was not an easy, not a very difficult one, but to try the spirit of the race.
I'm Malcolm, and this is the yacht Rosebud. Rosebud is a STP 65. It's like a TP 52, except it's on steroids. It's bigger, it's deeper, it's got more sail area, and it's a more powerful boat. This is, for all the Yankees on board, this is our first Hobart race. For all the 7 Aussie crew that we have on board and the 1 South African, all those boys have been in at least 1 Hobart, and most of them a lot more. I think we're prepared for it.
Mark Richards, the skipper of Wild Oats. The weather forecast going to be playing in your favour.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, it's going to be a tricky forecast, that's for sure, and a tricky race, you know. So, you know, it'll be what it'll be, and we've just got to get out there and do the best we can.
You've got a new mast in your boat. How's the tuning going?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, we're very, very happy with the new rig. It's definitely had some positive performance to the boat, and got some pretty cool new sails this year in this race. So, yeah, we're looking forward to the challenge.
What's the new sails, mate?
Oh, you know, we've got a much bigger spinnaker than what we've ever had before, but you need a bit of breeze to use that. So, we'll, hopefully we'll be seeing that in the first night, and we've got some good light air reaching sails. So, you know, I think it could really be beneficial in this forecast.
So, what's your prediction for the race?
Oh, mate, what, weather or?
Yeah, where you'll come.
Oh, mate, just got to get there. I'll leave the predictions till we're finished.
That's it, okay. We'll see you in Hobart.
Good on you. Look forward to it.
A massive crowd descends on Sydney Harbour, along with a huge spectator fleet of yachts. Boxing Day hangovers are not an option for the water police.
Boating safety is our key objective today. We'll be out there ensuring that the public have a great environment to view the event. We'd be expecting somewhere between 2,000 and possibly 3,000 vessels. The event itself attracts around 300,000 spectators.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody.
Cheers, guys.
Our race is going to be competing directly with the other Volvo 60s in the fleet, so there's 3 of us, so obviously, you know, we'd like to show them the way home. Also, our immediate competition, I'd like to think, was Rosebud. And my prediction for handicap, I think Rosebud's looking really good this year. They've got a great crew. They've proved themselves in the Big Boat Challenge and the Big Boat Series as well. So I'm going with Leopard over the line and Rosebud on handicap, and hopefully we'll be up there with Rosebud, you know, giving her a bit of a run for her money on the water. This is yacht racing after all, so it's not over till the fat lady sings. You've got to be in it to win it, and other such cliches.
Notice you're putting some more sails on at this stage, 2 hours or 3 hours before the start of the race.
Oh, well, it's a constant state of observation, so you know, we're paying attention to the forecast. We might make a little bit of sail plan adjustment for the race as the forecast changes. The objective was to come here and test the boat and compete, so we're happy how it's turned out so far.
Good luck for the race.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, having such a well-known sponsor as Hugo Boss, I'm sure that there's something in store for the team on the starting line.
You must be referring to the suits that they wore 2 years ago there, I think. Well, it's one of the first questions that we get asked, and it's unfair of me to tell you anything different, so I think it's the same for you, Jeff. I'm afraid that I could tell you, but then I'd have to kill you. You'll just have to watch on the start line.
Well, here are Hugo Boss, looking very smooth. Not sure those white suits will be much use in the Bass Straits with a southerly buster. I'm Lou A. Habib, and Boats on TV are reviewing the Rolex Sydney Hobart with professional race navigator Mike Broughton. Mike has done the race himself several times, and this year was on Chris Bull's J145 Jazz. Just tell us, how big an event is the Rolex Sydney Hobart, Mike?
In sailors' terms, it's the biggest event in Australia. In fact, the biggest event in the Southern Hemisphere. The whole of Australia stops to watch the Sydney Hobart race. The harbour stops, even the ferries stop on the water for this one race as they leave the harbour before they dive south towards Hobart and towards the colder waters of the Bass Straits.
Mike, the Aussies love to have a bit of a flutter, and I understand you can bet on this race in Australia. Just tell us, what your money was on.
Okay, well, as you can see, Wild Oats here, there's no doubt about it, my money for them to be first home, which is the main focus of betting for the race, and it is a big feature about the Sydney Hobart race. A lot of the Australian public do have a flutter, and a lot of it's based on first boat home, and Wild Oats, really clear favourite, having done it the last 2 years. I thought they were going to get there first, really, over Leopard, particularly given the forecast. I think if we'd seen strong upwind conditions, then Leopard would have been in a real good chance.
Mike, that's pretty easy to say with 2020 hindsight, and I suppose you reckon Rosebud was going to get the handicap win as well, eh?
Absolutely, I did, yes. Going back to about the middle of December, about the 12th of December, I had a conversation with Tim Davis on board and said, we reckon Wild Oats first there, which is probably not that hard, but particularly picking out the handicap winner. I think you look at the quality of the crew on Rosebud, and particularly the boat. Some people call it the TP52 on steroids, but also they're a strong boat and they're going to get there. Even the most experienced sailors here get a little bit nervous in the last few minutes, And what we have here is fabulous northeasterly winds, which just gives a little bit of a beat out of the harbour. It's really important to get a good start compared with your main opposition. We've got a great harbour start here, and as you can see on the right hand side of the picture, we've got the start boat, the white motorboat, and these boats now lining up as they go into the start. And the problem is that crews can't talk to each other very well because you've got the noise of several helicopters all hovering over the top. We're now down to the last 15 seconds, a really vital time as the boats line up to the start line. We've got Rosebud in the middle there and just to the left of Hugo Boss. Then further left and buried at the start, we've got Skandia, Grant Warrington's boat from Melbourne.
So here we go, it's the start of the Rolex Sydney Hobart. And there's the gun, they're off.
If you look in the left there, you've got the blue sails of Skandia. Now that's not a great start. In the sailing terms, they've been buried a bit with a few boats and they're sitting there with bad air. So now here we've got the two biggest boats in the race, Wild Oats, which is the odds-on favourite for line honours yet again, having won the last two. And then we've got Mike Slade's Leopard all the way from the UK, with Paul Stambridge and Jules Salter navigating and Gordon Maguire. These two boats are a real focus as we come out of the harbour. Which boat's going to get out to the harbour first? There was always a prize for the first boat out of the heads. I think my money right now is on Wild Oats, who've got a clearer lane, and they've got the bias end of the start line, on the port end of the start line. Looking across at Sydney Harbour, what a fantastic spectacle, where the water's been cleared of all the spectator craft to allow a lane of the yachts to make their way out through the harbour entrance. In the foreground, you can just see those yellow and black beacons, and they mark the Sow and Pigs rocks right into the entrance of Sydney Harbour. One of the fantastic things about Sydney Harbour, there's no shoals, no sandbanks, and not really any rocks that stick out. It's deep water right to the edge of the cliffs in Sydney Harbour, which is one of the great things, that it's so safe to sail, and it makes it such a fantastic location for yacht racing. Wild Oats, if you can see in the foreground, have got clear air, they're in a good position, and they're just about, by the look of it, going to lay the first mark. Skandia which look quite close, but they're further to leeward and in a bit of a poor situation because they're getting the dirty air from Wild Oats. So whilst these boats look quite close, actually, in real terms, that Wild Oats are quite well ahead here.
Fantastic start to the 63rd Rolex Sydney Hobart race. Wild Oats probably getting the best start of the fleet down at the leeward end, with City Index Leopard close behind. The boats coming up behind us, they've just tacked and they're heading across on a port tack at the moment. And I think you'll clearly see Wild Oats are out in front. And as I said, with Leopard not far behind them.
Here we've got Leopard, owned by Mike Slade, the flamboyant property developer from London. This is a new phare design, a 100-foot boat with a canting keel. We've still got Wild Oats leading with Leopard second, and both these boats are being built to break records and to be first home on the Ocean Classic races. Wild Oats have taken the lane down the western shore where they've got more time in clear air. You can see all the crew on the side there hiking hard and keeping the boat as level as they can to go as fast as they can. There's a gain for all the extra weight they get on the side on the rail, and the professional crew of Wild Oats really showing their worth there. Here we have in the middle of the picture, we've got Hugo Boss, the Whitbread 60, just dipping behind because they're on port tack. They have to give way to the yellow-hulled boat, which is another Whitbread 60 called DHL Daily Telegraph.
And look at that, that's an absolutely magnificent sight looking back down the fleet towards Sydney. Mickey, tell us a little bit about these spectator yachts about. They look like they could be a bit of a hindrance.
It works really well. They're very well disciplined. They put a line of yellow marks that the spectator fleet have to keep behind, and the yachts can go right to the edge. And yes, they do get in the way a little bit in terms you don't want to go to the edge because you've got a lot of dirty air and the power in the wind isn't quite as strong when you're racing. But it works really well in Sydney. We don't see it as a problem at all in terms of professional sailors.
This looks like a big day out in Sydney.
It is, Louis. Families, groups of friends, they all take their Barbies, they go and sit down on the beach or on the cliff tops to watch this race.
This will be my 34th trip to Hobart, so I just love this race and I keep going down every year. I'm doing it the easy way this year as the head of the radio relay team, have done for the last couple of years, but I've been a strong competitor in the race. I've taken a line on us several times and won the race on the handicap. The best would have to be 1987, where a maxi that I helped build and design finished up taking line honours and handicap honours, and that was the first Australian boat to do that. So that was a great thrill, and still, even 20 years later, still very strong in my memory.
Close racing picture there with a far 40 on the nearest boat. Interesting there, if you look at the boat on the left, the far 40 is actually in the controlling position, even though the bigger boat out to the right looks to be ahead, because we're about to go around a mark to starboard, and it's the boat closest that's in control here.
And here we can see Jazz on the right-hand side of the picture. Mike Broughton hiking out at the back as always. Mike, coming up to the Sydney Heads here, big change in conditions. What's going through your mind at this moment?
The real issue is which sail. I think we're talking about going for the A2 spinnaker, which is the asymmetric spinnaker. Again, more close racing with this time with the smaller boats around the sort of 40-foot point. We've got, by the looks of it, the Mexican boat on the right there, and the wind has actually swung a bit further to the right. There now it's about sort of east-northeast, and some boats having to tack in to get across to get around the first turning mark. The smaller boats have a closer and different turning mark to the big boats. Here we've got in Dolphin on starboard tack the Sydney 47 with some experienced people. We've got Henry Patterson on board, who's done 19 Hobart races, and the boat's owned by Peter Mooney, who's done 6. And this boat really is good conditions, being downwind conditions. This should suit the Sydney 47. Okay, here we've got the smaller boats, the 2 production boats in the fleet. The bigger one at the back is that's a Lacrity, the Benito 44.7, and as you see, he's trying to overtake going through to leeward of the smaller boat.
Mike, the lead boats are coming to the top of Sydney Heads. Just tell us what's going on here.
We've got Wild Oats on the left and we've got Leopard on the right. Looks like Leopard's ahead there, but actually in real terms that Wild Oats is closer. Both boats are just tacked to go offshore now. They've got one more mark to round before they then start heading south. But you can see the waves start building as we start getting out of the harbour, out of the way of the protection of Sydney Harbour, to the slightly stronger wind conditions. But look at it, fabulous day, great day for sailing, great day for racing south to Hobart. Well, what a great sight. Here we have a picture from South Head looking across through the harbour entrance to North Head. And you can see those cliffs are high, probably about over 300 feet high. And what's a significant tactical point is the way with the northeasterlies. The wind bends round the cliffs and then some of it goes over the top, leaving a little bit of a shadow zone in terms of wind close to the cliffs. The yachts come out of the entrance here and then basically turn right and then head off south towards the colder climes of Tasmania. Okay, there we've got Hugo Boss on starboard tack there. If we look at the boat, this is a Whitbread 60, the class that raced around the world in the Volvo Ocean race. This boat's going well here, but the conditions aren't really suited for a heavier, stronger, older boat like this. But nevertheless, the boat's going well.
Hey Mike, never mind which boat this is. Looks like there's a bit of rock and roll going on here.
It does. It looks like they've fully reefed down. Is that the bikinis or is that the... No, that's the Jensen. There we've got Wedgetail on starboard tack, one of the faster boats in IRC Division 2. A boat designed by Hugh Welburn, a 42-foot, really sort of downwind flyer, designed really for this race. Okay, there's a picture of Wild Oats. You can see now the real lead they have over Leopard as the boats now just reach across to the next turning point before they head south. You can see that really that Wild Oats did have a lead all the way along. They've now cashed in their windward gauge, their windward advantage.
Earlier, Boats on TV spoke to some of the leading players about their predictions for the race.
Yeah, a lot of mysteries of this race, which you'll just unfold as the race goes on. You just got to deal with the situations the best you can. And a lot of the time, it can be a real disadvantage to be in the lead.
I've done 3. This is my 3rd Sydney Hobart, and it looks like this will be like the other 2. They were all downwind, nice races. Now, don't misunderstand it. Owners like a nice, quiet downwind run down to Hobart. Of course we do. And when we get there, we're going to have to play cricket and things like this, make fools of ourselves like we all do. That's part of the game. But we've got to get there first. So this is tactical. It's not quite what I wanted. But we're delighted to be here. We're delighted to be, one of the big boats, adding to the whole race and the dynamic of the race and the interest in the race. We're delighted to be doing that. I would expect to be following Skandia and Wild Oats down the east coast. I expect they will move out from us if it is that light. If we see 15, 20 knots, we'll stay with them. But anything under that, they'll move away.
We're just starting to see the boats get further offshore now. But you can see the lead stretching out, Wild Oats ahead, and then Leopard following.
And here we've got a great view of Skandia, Grant Warrington's boat.
Yeah, this is always a big event for Grant Warrington. There you can see they're just sort of putting the spinnaker out to the bowsprit. Grant's got really a Melbourne crew that he's put around him with the likes of George Peat and Peter Dorian. And really the big focus for them is can they catch Wild Oats and Leopard, and also maybe they're not quite as fast on the water, but any problems with those 2 boats, then Skandia is waiting there to get in there to take the lead. Should we see any problems with the bigger boats a little bit further ahead?
And Mike, that looks like Rosebud unfurling a code 0.
Yes, indeed it is. That's Dr. Roger Sturgeon's boat, just bearing away and picking up speed. This is the point where the boats really increase speed as they bear away and put the bigger asymmetric sails up. Rosebud's got some really experienced sailors. There's a couple of people I've sailed with, Mickey Joubert and Andy Micklejohn on board, who's on the bow, and we'll be just sort of opening the roller furrow as we watch.
And Mickey, that's some pretty big gear. I mean, how much sail air are we talking about there?
I don't bloody know, Louis. I think about... I probably should know. Well, this is a really exciting new class. This is the STP 65. A little bit like a bigger version of a TP52. Some people call it the TP52 on steroids. Built for offshore races, built for the classics, the Sydney Hobarts, the Fastnet races, the Newport Bermuda race. These boats in particular come to life when they bear away, when they get off the wind. And you can see the speed increasing here. And this is the bit where they're going to hope to have downwind conditions as long as possible, and they can really get ahead of their rating, because these boats plane very quickly. They're quite light boats.
As you can see, this is great sailing. It's warm, the water's warm, blowing about 22, 23 knots. Guys are happy. This is really fabulous sailing here at Rosebud, and this is what we came here for. Almost transpac conditions. Any thoughts, Malcolm?
No thoughts other than beautiful sailing. No one told me this is what Hobart was like, going to Hobart. I bet it's going to change.
Rosebud crew's been together a long time. They came down here to take on the Hobart.
Just looking there again at Rosebud, you see there's such clear lines. There's very little weight coming out of the back of these modern design boats compared with the powerboat that we're in. It doesn't look as if it's going very fast, but it is. You can just see that by the speed of the waves going past the camera. There's another yacht accelerating. We've got Watt Yacht, Graham Wood's TP52, an all carbon boat. We've got the old Brindabella there. It's now called Toyota Orion V6. That's an old Jutson 79-footer. Used to be Brindabella, and that boat was as one line on us before as well. So a little bit older now, but still goes very well, and almost knows its own way down to Hobart now. And then we've got one of the file design Cuxton 50s. We've got two in the fleet. This is Living Doll with they changed their keel configuration this year. They've now got a static keel. And there we've got a Benito just borne away with a spinnaker up. There we've got a symmetric spinnaker, and you can see the spinnaker pole. This is a bit more the conventional kites we've seen here for many years. Quite a good trim there actually, with the clew the same height as the tack. That's the bottom corners both on the same height, which they should be, and going well. Okay, there we've got another far design. That's an IC45 called Pretty Woman. Quite a young crew on there. In fact, we've got James Spithill, the famous match racer's younger brother there, Thomas Spithill, on board.
Grant Warrington from Skandia Wild Thing. You've got the forecast, Grant. How's it look for you?
Yeah, it's looking pretty quiet, really. You know, we've obviously got a northeasterly this afternoon, which will push us down the coast pretty quick, and then a little southerly in Bass Strait, which is kind of normal. Always get head-butted down there somewhere. So, yeah, it'll be quite interesting. It's going to make quite a tactical race between these two high-pressure systems, and be very interesting to see how it pans out. Leopard, I think, you know, is going to be quite heavy. I think they'll probably struggle in this sort of forecast that we've got, but Wild Oats is obviously going to be the boat to beat. So, yeah, we'll be keeping all eyes on them. We'll finish sometime on the 28th, but I couldn't tell you whether it's going to be dusk or dawn.
Here we have Paul Clitheroe's balance. Glad to see the lone starter motor got him to the start of this race. He certainly doesn't need it now. He's making great speed.
Yeah, it's good to see all the crew hiking on the rail. And there's Pretty Fly bearing away. That's another 47.7 owned by Colin Woods, with an experienced crew on board from Sydney. There we've got Spirit of Kumalu. This is quite an old boat. You see the old classic designs. This is an old Sparkman and Stevens 49-footer, and in fact years ago this sailed for Australia in the Admiral's Cup and was the original Ragamuffin. And there we've got Witch Doctor, which is a very old boat and been to Hobart many times. It's a very early Laurie Davidson design, and it's got Tony Cable on board, who's done 43 Hobarts so far. This is his 44th. Okay, here we've got one of the leading Sydney 38, the Goat. This is a class of 11 exactly the same boats, similar one design boats, the Sydney 38. As you can see, they're just getting the headsail down, having got the spinnaker up. They've got the spinnaker pole on the forestay there. This boat had a very interesting race. They won their division, but in the process they actually hit Tasman Island as they turned around into Dawn Bay and lost half the keel, but they still managed to limp into the finish line and win the class, even without half a keel. Really quite a feat.
Mike, once the yachts have left the safe confines of Sydney Harbour, they head down the east coast. Tell us what will be going through the tactician, the navigators, all the crew's minds after they leave Sydney Heads.
Okay, well the first thing really is what spinnaker you're going to choose, because we've got quite decent northeasterly winds here. We can see a little bit of a swell as well, and this is really from a high pressure system right out into the Tasman Sea. It's been giving northeasters now, for probably 3 or 4 days, and quite steady northeasterlies, which is great for getting down the track fast and actually get to Hobart, making it quite a quick race. Now then, the important bit here is which sail we're going to pick and whether we go offshore or whether we're going to hug the coast. Wow, great shot there of Mike Slade's Leopard. You can see the boat doesn't look as it's going particularly fast until you look at the power boats alongside, all making a big wake.
Well, we're not keeping anything under a bushel. We're not keeping anything secret. The bottom line is we are the heavier boat. And you do need that extra bit of grunt. There's no doubt about it. We need 12 knots to really get the boat out of the water and flying. When she's out in the water, we've got this enormous amount of sail area. We've got this ridiculously sized A2. Takes about 3/4 an hour to repack it, so it's not something you want to go up and down with all the time. And we can get that flying, who knows. My expectations are that we've got a fight on our hands. We'll give a good account of ourselves. Didn't come down here to lose, but at the same time, I could prefer different weather patterns or forecasts than I'm seeing right now, to be perfectly honest.
I think we had Fastnet, we saw 32 knots of boat speed, which I think isn't unusual. You know, reaching in the right conditions, we can certainly hit that, and we can get high averages, 25 knots over long periods of time. So the boat's quick, and I'd imagine, top end speeds could be well over 35 knots.
The most impressive part is when you put the mainsail on, and you bear away, and then somebody swings the keel out, and the boat just immediately jumps into, doing 15 or 18 knots with just the mainsail on. It's to feel the power of the keel swinging out to windward and the boat coming upright is quite astounding. Still for me, it's still breathtaking. It's a very, very powerful boat, and you really have to experience it to understand. It's quite special.
That's another thing, saying this boat, you realise that everything is fully barred up. You ease a sheet, there's a lot of... The boat is extremely powerful, and consequently you've got to be very careful. It's very easy to break things, hurt people, and the rest of it. So I think you do have to sort of think a lot about that, maybe more than you would on a small boat.
We're basically out there to get line liners. We'll certainly try for it.
We're going to be running down the east coast, but on the Thursday night, or as we go into, the Wednesday night, the first night, before we go into Thursday, we're going to get more southerlies coming through, and they'll be resting with each other. So that says to us, very light airs, almost a shutdown. Who's in the right position? Who's going to get the first breeze? You could be out, or you could be inshore. And that's a roll of the dice. So a lot of tactics coming into play, a lot of proper seamanship and sailing knowledge and experience. Now, Wild Oat's got plenty of that. Skandia's got plenty of that. Matt Allen and his boys on the Volvo got plenty of that, and so have we. So it'll be a battle of the giants out there, and there's a lot of cerebral, for a change, work going on the boat rather than just grunt and bear. This time it's going to be a lot of thinking, which is great. We made a decision to go with everything because we are going to probably meet everything. There's going to be some upwind, a lot of downwind, a lot of light, a couple of gusty conditions, and then of course you get into the Derwent and anything can happen. So it's going to be very exciting, and this thing isn't over. This is not a done deal. So we're right there in the fight, but I must say, Wild Oats is the one to beat.
within 3 hours of leaving the safe confines of Sydney Harbour, the lead boats were out of sight.
How many great races now, Wade?
6, Juggy.
How about you, Michael? How many great ones?
This is number 4.
Okay. John Hayes from Connecticut. How many, Hazy?
I'm a newbie. This is my first one.
He's a freshie.
Pretty good so far.
Jack, Santa Cruz.
Yes, I'm a virgin. And I love you, Juggy.
Malcolm.
First one.
James.
Numero uno.
Roger Sturgeon, the owner of Rosebud.
It's like a ride in the park.
It's like a backwards Transpac, isn't it?
Very backwards.
So where we're going it gets colder, in Transpac it gets hotter.
Yeah, it's all the same.
Been a lot of interest in the boat, Roger, since we've been in Sydney, especially after that Rolex event, so...
Yep, I think people have taken a lot of notice of us since we arrived, and we're really appreciative of everybody.
Have you enjoyed being in Australia?
Oh, it's beyond my wildest dreams. It's just been fantastic. I can't wait to come back again.
There you have it, Roger Sturgeon. Sailing in increasing northerly here, fabulous downwind conditions. We've been racing about 3 or 4 hours now, oh no, 5 hours now. We've been racing about 5 hours now. The leaders are just over the horizon, and the next wave of yachts is just on the horizon behind us, and to our port beam, out to sea is Ichiban about 5 miles. We've been having a good tussle with her the last 2 hours, and we'll have to wait till morning to see whose position pays off the best as the breeze backs into the west. We'll have to drive across. Hopefully we'll be lined up straight through into Bass Strait. We don't want to have to drive and have to drive into the land.
Okay, there we're seeing now Rosebud in the sort of last light before the sun goes down, and we can see how the wind has dropped here. It's gone quite light, and now we've got a front coming through. You just see the alto cumulus clouds high up as the early portents of a new front, and then you can see the crew on deck, and they're all doing the sort of preparations for the night. They're sort of tidying up the cockpit. So you can see them all sort of cording the ropes. There's an old saying that a tidy cockpit's a happy cockpit. But more to the point, really, is that if any ropes get caught up in night, you can't see it. So the importance of good seamanship preparation is going around the deck, checking the bow, and also you can see the wheel moving here. There's two wheels on Rosebud. The moment the helmsman's on the opposite, on the starboard side, helming, and they're getting ready for a sail change. You can see, but things get very different once we get into night sailing. It's really important to keep pushing the boat as fast as you can, keep going at 100%. And it's very easy out on the first night when people get tired, usually all about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. And the importance of having a bit of a watch system, so we keep, some people get a chance to have a little bit of sleep and come up refreshed, but you get very little sleep, particularly on the first night, and it's the ability to keep pushing and to keep going at night, and that is a key to doing well in this race.
So Tom, here on Rosebud, this is the morning of the 27th. We're seeing quite a vivid change in the weather conditions from last night, where we were enjoying some fabulous running conditions.
We were champagne sailing, as they say. We sailed through our little front line it was about 3 o'clock this morning, I think, and big left-hand shift through that. Since then, it's been a lot softer than we've hoped and a bit further left. But the guys up ahead seem to be in right-hand pressure. So, and all the observations and stuff that we can see sort of support that. So we're sort of hanging on, favouring starboard, but just talking about attack if we get any really big left-handers.
And the opposition?
The opposition are generally the guys behind are softer than us. I think we're sort of slowly sailing into slightly better pressure. I think pretty important piece of info this morning is going to be the quick scat pass, which we get at 9 o'clock. So that's another 3.5 hours time. So that's going to be a nice one to get our hands on to get a bit of a feel for what's going on around us.
So all we can hope is that the big boats in front of us are somewhat hindered as well.
Yeah, they're starting to pick up speed. They're doing 10s, 11 knots. We're down in the 8s still, but they're definitely in a different breeze to us. More right-handed breeze. We're 170s at the moment, which is not ideal. But hopefully something's going to change. And I think it's just a matter of time. I think we're in a pretty sensitive situation here with the breeze, but I don't think there's much we can do. We just sort of plug on this board, and I think it will change up on the bow for us.
So can you pull out your magic wand for us and use some colourful language, and we'll just stand back and let it all happen?
Colourful language gets you nowhere. No, it'll happen. We're seeing some little righties now, so no, it's just a case of putting it on the breeze and getting down the track, and good things will happen, I think. But it's going to be tough for everyone behind us as well.
Good one, mate. Thanks.
Pleasure.
So as you can see here on Rosebud, there has been quite a change from the conditions we were enjoying last night. We're now into a medium jib going upwind, doing 7 knots, 8 knots of boat speed in 10 knots of breeze. Last night we were going 20 knots of boat speed downwind straight towards the barn in about 20 to 25 knots of breeze. So we'll just have to tough this out, and hopefully the changes will go our way, and we'll come back to you sometime later in the day here on the 27th Sydney Hobart Yacht Race, Rolex.
Rosebud came here from California. It had finished the Transpac, went on and sailed in Big Boat Series, and is now here for the Rolex Sydney Hobart race.
It was originally designed as an all-round boat, and all-round it is. It's been performing really, really well, and up to standard and up to expectation on pretty much all points of sail. But we are still learning the boat. It's only been launched 6 months or so. The
core crew on this boat has been sailing for over 4 years on Roger Sturgeon, the owner of this yacht, and his wife Isabel. They've had a previous boat, and we've all been the core group sailing on all those boats. We respect the ocean. This is a group that has a lot of ocean miles, regardless of whether they're in Sydney Hobart or other races. And we respect the ocean. We respect what it can dish out and how conditions can change.
If it gets really, really light, I think a lot of boats will struggle. And I'm not quite sure how we're gonna go compared to the other boats in that. We haven't really sailed against any of the Australian boats in those conditions. So I think that's possibly a question mark in our minds.
Right now it's got a little bit lighter. Guys are airing themselves out a little bit. It's been a little bit damp this morning, so making the most of the sunshine before another tough night tonight. We're expecting the wind to go back into the north, so we'll start entering some downwind conditions in the evening and start the heavy game of cat and mouse with the opposition again. Overall not too bad. We're enjoying the race. That's one good thing about it. You guys professional ocean racing yachtsmen focusing on your job?
Yeah, we're very focused.
within a couple of hours, we'll see line honours in the 2007 Rolex Sydney Hobart Yacht Race. Wild Oats 11 will make yachting history by being only the second boat ever to take 3 consecutive line honours wins. She's just rounded Cape Rowell. She's only doing 4 or 5 knots at the moment in a light nor'wester. The tide is helping. City Index Leopard, the British maxi, is second place. City Index Leopard has just rounded Tasman Island. And she's closing in on Wild Oats 11, but once she gets into Storm Bay, we'll suffer what Wild Oats has been, and that's less breeze and slower boat speed.
So what's going through the crew on board Wild Oats right now? They're pretty much there. It looks like they've got Leopard tucked behind them, and it looks like they've got their 3rd line honours victory in the bag.
Yes, the last information we've got is Leopard was really closing down on them, but we can't see any sign of Leopard on the horizon. It looks like Wild Oats has got this one for line honours, that is. But then they've got a long wait. They could be a boat coming up from behind, taking the handicap, but these guys will be absolutely delighted with a line honours win.
What a great welcome the boats are. When the first boat gets to Hobart, the number of locals that bring their boats out to welcome particularly the leading boat in is fantastic.
Well, with just a few miles to go, it looks like Bob Oatley's 98-foot canting keeler has done the business.
With the finish line in sight, they're leading yet again, going for a triple win for 3 line honours victories in a row. Fantastic achievement. There you can see the keel fully out on the starboard side and tilted up, and the crew on the rail all pushing the last few miles, and would have been awake and been pushing for the last few hours, so very little sleep to get there and to get to the finish line, but looking like a great and historic line honours victory.
Well, I think it's quite an extraordinary achievement to win this race 3 years running, particularly as this boat was dismasted not too long before the start of this race. So the amount of work to actually get her to the start line, coupled with this win, the crew must be absolutely delighted.
Mike Slade's Leopard is pretty close behind though, and they've had a good race. It just shows actually if we'd seen some strong headwinds, then I think we'd have seen Leopard pretty damn close to them.
great to see the victorious Wild Oats crew coming over to the Leopard team to start the party. But there was only one winner, and Gordon Maguire, helmsman on Leopard, tells us what it's like to come second.
We had a lot of fun. Obviously disappointed we didn't close the deal, but that's life.
How'd you go last night?
Oh, good. Yeah, we were good last night. We had a lot of wind, and we always enjoy that. So I think we basically gave them too much of a head start in the light airs running downwind out of Sydney for the first day and a half. They took 20 or 30 miles out of us, and we were never going to get all that back. They're too good an operation to hand that back. So, well, three in a row for them. That's pretty impressive.
CYCA Commodore Matt Allen's Ichiban was third on the water. Pretty impressive for a boat that's not really suitable for these kinds of conditions. The Volvo 70 has been customised, but it's still pretty sticky in the light.
And here we've got Rosebud in the final 2-3 miles, sailing up the light winds of the River Derwent. And as you can see, we've got the bowman, I think that must be Andy Micklejohn, up the rig, helping to search for wind, and really pushing the boat right to the end, because these guys are about to be very happy. They're about to win the race on handicap. They know that. They can get online and look at the results. And this is a fantastic result for the American boat, and with the Australian navigator Tom Addis. And Louis, what can I say? I told you these guys are going to win.
Yes, Mickey, and you know, an American boat winning the Rolex Sydney Hobart, that is a rarity. I think it's only happened once before. Normally we have an Australian boat winning this on handicap, and this is a brand new boat. So first season, you win the Rolex Sydney Hobart, amazing. And here is Rosebud coming through the line to take handicap victory in the 63rd Rolex Sydney Hobart. And here is Roger Sturgeon from the west coast of the USA. Roger was one of the first owners of a TP52, and now he's just won the Rolex Sydney Hobart on corrected time. He looks absolutely delighted. And a big smacker for the missus as well. Roger's obviously enjoyed this race and probably going to enjoy Hobart a bit more. It's 30 years since an American boat has won the Tattersall Cup. Boats on TV speak to watch leader for Rosebud, Malcolm Park.
This is a far-designed 65-foot boat, but it's built within a box rule, much like the Transpac 52s that have become popular in Europe. This is a Transpac in conjunction with Storm Trysail Club 65-footer. And it's like a 52, it's a little more steroids. It's a lot deeper on a percentage basis and a lot more sail area. We had all sorts of conditions. The wind went 360 degrees around the entire compass twice, and the wind speed was from 5 knots to 25 knots. So we had all sorts of conditions to test and learn about our boat. We used every sail in our inventory. We were allowed to bring 5 spinnakers, and we used them all. We brought 5 jibs, and we used them all. And you know, I think our maximum speed was probably around 25 knots. We pushed the boat and pushed the sails harder than we probably should have. We were set up for maybe 17 knots of wind, and we were getting 25 knots of wind and plus. So we probably did a little bit of damage to those sails, but it was probably the right call. We like this boat. It'll be around for a while.
One of the outstanding performances in this year's Rolex Sydney Hobart was Bruce Taylor's Chutzpah. The IRC 40, designed by Reichel Pugh, won her class and beat a huge number of larger boats on line honours. One to look out for in the future. One of the great things about the Rolex Sydney Hobart is there's competitions going on right through the pack. Here's two Volvo 60s, Hugo Boss and DHL. DHL beat Hugo Boss through the line to beat them both on handicap and on overall. And there's Hugo Boss taking a big wind shift coming into the finish there. But Hugo Boss had the last laugh. That is not the way to run your spinnaker. The crew on Hugo Boss are a mixture of professionals and amateurs, and Boats on TV had a chat with boat captain Andy Terrell.
How'd it go, mate?
Yeah, awesome.
Welcome to Hobart, Andy. How'd it go?
That was officially the best ride of my life. We had pretty much everything. We had the surfing on the first night. We had some lighter and fluky stuff which brought the fleet back together again. And we all took off. The race that we had with George Gregan and DHL, we saw at least one of them twice a day, every day. And then last night we had just some awesome surfing conditions. We were kind of topping, we were averaging sort of high 20s and top 30 knots surfing yesterday evening, which was pretty awesome. Bit wet ride, but really good fun. And then first light this morning, about 4 o'clock, we parked outside off the island, and we had DHL just started coasting around the outside. George Gregan was just behind us, and then we just had an awesome jibing battle with DHL all the way to the end, right the way through Derwent River, around a corner, and I think we were just over a minute behind them. But yeah, great race, absolutely great race. I don't think anybody got any sleep last night, because A, because we were just working harder to keep the boat going, and B, because nobody wanted to. You know, it was the conditions the boat was made for. You know, we really suffered in the light airs. And the other two Volvos seemed to have code zeros, which we didn't have, so light airs was certainly our Achilles heel. But as soon as we were in the strong breeze, she was just up and running. She was brilliant. Here we are, we've been a part of it, we've done our best, we're really chuffed with how we've done. So yeah, we'll go and have a couple of cheeky halves now. And good to see you here as well, of course.
Yeah, good to see you. All the best, yeah.
Cheers, Jeff.
Cheers, buddy. Mate, that was fantastic.
Not everybody had a happy ending to the Rolex Sydney Hobart. Skandia Wild Thing bust their rig, but still finished the race.
You're getting sick of the sound of crunching gear?
Oh, well, yeah, it's just part of the deal, really.
Could you be back next year?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
So, an historic 3 line honours win in a row for Bob Oatley's Wild Oats 11.
Hey, nice one, Rico. Yay, good man.
The boys did a fantastic job. The boat performed fantastically, and here we are in Hobart again.
For the minute we started, knowing what the weather was going to be, we knew we were in for a struggle.
Any win's a great win, but this is very special, and we're just happy to be here in one piece. And there's been a bit of bad luck out there, but it's been a great race.
The owner and Mark Richards, the skipper. Put your hands together for them. They've done it again, 3 times in a row.
But when we made the starting line, I saw go out through Sydney Heads, first boat to the Heads, I was thrilled. And the further it came down the coast, the happier I got and the more relieved I became.
It is the Tattersalls Cup for the overall winner, first IRC. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for the bowman on Rosebud, Justin Kluwer, to accept the Tattersalls Cup